Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. It's 9 o'clock in the evening. Welcome to the English news from Djibouti channel. The main title of our news edition tonight. The headlines are support Djibouti candidacy for the position of non-permanent member of the council. In Amazon, Bolsonaro authorities the sending of the army to find the fire in Amazon forest. Welcome you if you join us. The President of the Republic's Excellency Mr. Ismail Omar Guelleh sent his sadness condolences to the Djiboutian families, especially Mohammed Delaita and Nasser Ali Uthman, both deploring the loss of the one who sealed the hyphen and the irreversible alliance between them. In the case of the late Lula Mohammed Delaita died last night. The late Lula Mohammed Delaita was both the daughter of Mohammed Delaita and the mother of the offspring Nasser Ali Uthman, the two well-known families of Djibouti, with respectively the former Prime Minister of our country, Mr. Delaita Mohammed Delaita, and Nasser Ali Uthman, the greatest Djiboutian banker that our country has known. We join the grief of the two Beaver family, all the more because they have many personalities and leaders who have long served our country with dedications and patriotism, said President Guelleh. The First Lady and the President of the UNFD, Mrs. Khadra Mahmoud Haid, also joined the President of the Republic to express her sincere condolences to the family of the illustrious deceased Djibouti mothers. May God welcome the deceased compatriot in his eternal paradise, implored the President of the Republic and the First Lady. She leaves leaves behind her an important family of 7 children and many grandchildren. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. The organizations of Islamic corporations, known OIC, officially announced today its support for the candidacy of the Republic of Djibouti as non-permanent member of the Security Council for the period 2021-2022. The OIC has also asked its member states to support Djibouti candidacy for the UN Security Council. It should be noted in passing that the Organization of Islamic Cooperation is composed of 57 member states and is intergovernmental structure with a permanent delegation to the United Nations. The Djiboutian ambassador to Saudi Arabia, who is also the permanent representative of our country to the OIC. Also, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and the Kingdom of Bahrain officially expressed today the support of the candidacy of the Republic of Djibouti for the positions of non-permanent member of Security Council for the period between 2021-2022. The Djiboutian ambassador to Riyadh, who is also the Dean of the Diplomatic Corps in Saudi Arabia, welcomed the statement of support of Saudi Arabia and Bahrain in favor of the Republic of Djibouti. The support of Saudi Arabia and Bahrain to our country's candidacy for the Security Council is a strong gesture. There are two kingdoms with which we share fraternal and above all historical ties. Recall that Djibouti rejected Thursday the decisions of the African Union, which validated Wednesday its expense the candidacy of Kenya for the position of non-permanent member of the Security Council for the period 2021-2022. At the invitations of the Turkish counterpart, Mr. Farahtin, of the Minister of Health, Mr. Mohammed Warsamadiriya, paid a working visit for 72 hours to Ankara in the Republic of Turkey Mr. Mohammed Wassamadiria and his counterpart, Mr. Farahtin, had a long meeting in the presence of the ambassador of the Republic of Djibouti in Turkey, Mr. Aden Hussein Abdullahi, and the ambassador of the Republic of Turkey in Djibouti, Mr. Salim. The two ministers welcomed the level of excellence of strategic relation based on centers all the historic and cultural ties between Djibouti and Turkey. It was pointed out that thanks to the will of the two heads of state, Mr. Ismail Omar Guelleh and his counterpart, Mr. Recep Tayyip Erdogan, bilateral cooperation has attained at both political and economic level and exceptional level of excellence. In the context of vector control, the Minister of Health has conducted a series of training sessions on PID in home spraying for hygienic officer in the capital of the 5 interior region. This training takes place before the Malaria National Response Plan, which will enter into its enforceable phase at the beginning of September. Including this meeting was including indoor spraying will be carried out at the sites identified as being at high risk of malaria in the capital. The introduction of this new strategy involving physical barriers against mosquitoes complements the usual methods of using impregnated mosquitoes and needs that are commonly used in Djibouti. The Prime Minister, Mr. Abdulqadir Kamil Mohammed, was visited with the delegations. The committee composed of the relevant civilian and military authorities in charge of setting up the necessary services of the Tajura Balho road, which will be inaugurated soon, went Thursday in Balho in the Tajura region. This delegation was composed of the Director General of the Port of Tajura Corridor, Mr. Mohammed Abu Bakr Hamad, and the Director of Control and Surveillance of the Customs, Mr. Mohammed Hassan Usman, and the Chairman of the Regional Council of Tajura, but also the representative of Djibouti Telecom Tajura, Mr. Hussein Abdul Karim Sayed. On their arrival, the delegation was welcomed by the inhabitants of the village of Balho, namely the Uqals and the local councillors. The technical committee then went to the seat where the various necessary services of the Tajura Balho road will be located, namely Dora, Boli, Randa, as well as Malho and Firo. Several topics were addressed by the responsible to know the architecture of the different services and especially their locations. This technical committee will implement all means to enable this road to be conducive to local development, to accelerate the process of decentralization at the national level, and also the regional integration in progress after long discussions between the local and the others responsible of the services. The technical committee moved again to another site, have planned to build another installation related to the necessary services of the road Tajura Balho. In addition, it's expected at the beginning about 1,000 trucks per day and will use the road Tajura Balho. The Tajura Balho road is vital to the country's economy and accelerating the processes of decentralization. And finally, before closing the work mission, the technical committee went to the provisional site of these different services of the section Tajura Balho. The technical committee have inspected the premises of its temporary site that will host the various service, namely the customs, immigration services, road safety, may also other services necessary for the proper functioning of the road Tajura Balho. We regret to announce the death of the late Ibrahim Ahmed Hidayah last night in Djibouti. The late fire Ibrahim Ahmed Hadi, born in 1940 in Tajora, was a personally much appreciated by his contemporaries, and his kindnesses. Engaged in the gendarmerie in 1963, where he made his career until his retirement. He left behind a large family behind him, a widow and 7 children and grandchildren. In his painful circumstances, we share the pain of the family experience, and we extend our sincere condolence to all his family, including his brothers. Yusuf Ahmed, former reporter of RTD, we pray that God to welcome him to his eternal paradise. Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un. And now let's move on international issues. The UN Special Representative in the Central African Republic on Friday threatened to strictly punish the violations of the peace agreement signed in February between the government and 14 army groups to end the war that has plagued the country since 2030. The Central African Republic is experiencing a relative calm since the signing of this agreement on February 6, but the population are still victims of violence committed by armed groups who control 70% of the territory. In Palestine, at least 122 Palestinians were wounded on Friday in clash with Israeli soldiers in eastern Gaza near the border with Israel. Dr. Said Al-Ashraf Al-Qidra, a spokesman of Gaza's Minister of Health, told the reporter that among the wounded demonstrators, 50 had been shot in Israel and that 3 foreigners has also been injured. Hundreds of Palestinian protesters gathered Friday afternoon near of the eastern border of Gaza Strip and Israel, waving the Palestinian flags to participate in the 71st Friday of protest rally against Israel of a movement known as Name of Great Walk Back. Here we'll write the end of this news edition. Thank you for watching us. Have a good night.